What time's it, Dave?
I think it's a podcast o'clock, you know?
Podcast o'clock, indeed. Well, again, not as swift and as smooth as the other ones, but
Yeah.
the last one, the last of this trilogy, as we'll call it.
Mm.
Anyways, of the Bioshock trilogy.
Yep.
A lot of discussions today.
I've been dreading this day.
Wow. Well, just because it's your least favourite one.
Yeah.
Note I said it's not the one you hate, just your least favourite.
No, I think I hate it.
Yeah, Bioshock Infinite. Like, I think what we're really
Mm.
kind of going to talk about is Bioshock Infinite.
Mm-hmm.
It's DLCs.
Yeah, Barrel at Sea 1 and 2, yeah.
I'm going to mention its multiplayer shitty mode or whatever it was, which I never played and I refused to.
I didn't even know it existed until you mentioned it last time.
The Bioshock Infinite that could have been,
Yep.
and possibly Bioshock 4 in the future of it. Because I mean, this episode's coming out on the anniversary of Bioshock, the 14th anniversary of Bioshock, like August 21st.
It's hard to believe it's that old. Like,
It is mad, isn't it? Because it
It's a-
does
it's a
hold
g-
up.
it's like, I think it's going to be timeless. So it is.
Oh, it is one of those games that will be timeless.
Yeah.
The thing about Infinite is, for me, I had never played it until I got the collection.
Yeah.
And I was a big fan of Bioshock. I just never got it because
Yeah.
it was one of those last games on the console.
Oh, on the last gen?
Yeah.
The last gen at this rate.
Yeah. Because it came out like, it was 2012. Came out like in April or May or something.
Was it only like a 360 PS3 game, or did they do an upgrade for Xbox One and
No,
PS4?
no, it was just a.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
For that late of a game.
Well, I think their whole intention was they were just going to be like, we'll just kind of do a whole collection.
Yeah,
That makes more
suppose,
sense.
yeah.
Well, also because Irrational Games were dissolved after that.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, shortly after Infinite. That's why Ken Levine went on to do Ghost Story Games
Yeah.
and stuff. It's just kind of mad the fact that the company that made this game and the first Bioshock, for example, don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not that long ago. Like, even Infinite's not that long ago. Well, it is. It is 8 years ago, Infinite. Or longer,
really?
actually. 9?
Oh my god, yeah, I didn't even clock that. That's
It's mad.
I think it's something you're seeing a lot more now. Like, there's so many studios just getting shut down, or their projects cancelled, or they're just being absorbed in other studios and stuff like that. It's mental.
Because that's happened with a while. Like, happened with Pandemic. That was a big one. That was like the
Yeah.
first time you really kind of saw something like that.
Yeah.
And obviously it's become more recent in years.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of sad. Because,
It really is.
just these small studios. Because they are small studios.
Oh yeah.
It's not like your Call of Duties
Oh
or
yeah.
your Rockstar games,
They
essentially.
weren't your big AAA like
No.
blockbuster games.
But they broke through
Yeah.
to feel like a AAA game.
Yeah, like one thing it always saddens me just thinking about visceral games.
Yeah.
That's probably the saddest one for me.
Yeah. And then there's THQ, which has now morphed into THQ Nordic,
Oh really?
which is not the people who worked on the game. It was basically this company, Nordic Games, I think they were called. They basically just got the rights to the name, so they just called themselves Nordic THQ, or THQ Nordic or something.
Yeah.
So Nordic or THQ lives on in that. Same with Atari.
Really?
Oh yeah, a lot of people don't realize Atari, the company that's called Atari now, isn't the original Atari. It was just some random company that bought the name
Yeah.
because Atari went bust essentially. So yeah, it's kind of weird, like stuff like that. You don't realize, like, because you pick up
Yeah.
something like, oh, this is an Atari, this is Made by
Yeah.
Atari and stuff. No, it's not. 99% of the time, it will not actually be Atari. It will be the new company that is called Atari that isn't Atari.
That's weird.
But like, I completely understand why they would buy the rights to that kind of name, because that would just make
Oh
people,
yeah,
be like, oh yeah, we'll buy
it's
that.
recognizable. Like,
Imagine Rockstar go bust or Bethesda go bust. It won't happen, but imagine,
yeah.
oh yeah, we'll buy their name, because you would. You
I
know what I
mean,
mean?
having the name of a Rockstar, like that would
Mm.
that
Oh
would
yeah,
set you up. Like,
100%. EA, heaven forbid.
well,
Um,
be a lot of bad connotations with that game or that name.
yeah, but
Even with
not.
Activision these days,
Oh,
any of
yeah.
their names.
Well, we're foreshadowing an EA game, Dead Space.
Yep.
But no, moving swiftly on to Bioshock.
Yeah, don't want to get into too many tangents
Because
of
it's
this
going to
one.
be a long episode, I feel.
Yeah.
I only realized this when playing, because I played the start of the game again. So I just kind of had to at least play the start of the game again. And just by playing the start of the game again, it does have that awe factor
Yeah.
that was really missing in Bioshock 2, for example.
Yeah, see, whenever I played because I played all three of them in the remaster, that was my first time playing them properly. And yeah, because you've already been to Rapture, and it doesn't have that grandiose like entrance that Bioshock 1 had. It was more of just like a more grounded, like just, oh, you're here now. Because it kind of treats it as if you've already seen Rapture from the first game, and it just wants to show you like, oh, this is it now, kind of.
Yeah.
But it's not as grandiose or it's not as like well polished and all out there. But yeah, that is like I do love the premise of Infinite and the whole thing where you go up the elevator and you just it does have that Bioshock 1 feel.
Yeah, because like I actually think it's something that's done better than Bioshock, the first one.
Oh really?
Like the whole opening level, just replaying it again, it's because the thing that it has over Bioshock is, in Bioshock you never get to actually be in Rapture before you see what's wrong with it. You just see what's wrong with it, essentially.
I think
after
that's meant to be like the point of Bioshock, though.
Oh yeah, no, I understand that, but it's just the fact that I like the fact that we see this world in Bioshock Infinite, just the opening sequence, and you're walking around, everything's kind of just this perfect angelic feel to it.
Yeah, everything's like normal,
and then the
nothing...
racist stuff comes in.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like that aspect, the racist stuff isn't at surface value at the start of it. Like you're kind of just going through, just thinking, oh, it's just really religious, and then it hits you whenever you get to the stage.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, there's other stuff going on here.
Yeah. Then it's like, oh, racists. It kind of reminds me of Man of Steel, where an opening sequence in Krypton, and Jor-El's talking to the leaders of Krypton, like, oh, this is mad, like what you are doing, the planet's gonna explode, and they're like, nah, what are you talking about? No, it's not. And then Michael Shannon comes in as General Zod, and he's like, killing everyone and stuff. And he's talking to Jor-El, and I'm like, what's wrong? Why aren't these two guys on the same side? And then he's talking about the degenerate bloodlines and stuff. It's like, the racist stuff. Okay, it's always because I think a good way to make a villain is they have some good points. But just they've gone too far with them. There's always one thing that's kind of just like... Because I think the whole idea of, like, General... I'm going to wrap this up quickly because I'm just going to talk about Man of Steel with attention. Because it sort of correlates into Bioshock Infinite in a way where... Or just even the Bioshock series, where it shows that you have these villains... And you can agree with them till a point. It's just the fact that up until a point you can agree, but beyond that, it's just they've crossed the line too. It's really
like,
wrong.
It's like
You
whenever
know.
you first see them and you first see their city, you're like, oh, this is actually a good idea. Like, oh,
Mm.
underwater city where everyone's free
Mm.
to do what they want and everything. You're like, that's a good idea. But then you start going into it and you find, oh, there's no control. The person that there's no like structure to it
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Then you start unraveling everything that was going on and all the travesties that happen in all the series.
Oh yeah. Because I
And I
feel
think
like, even like with Daisy Fitzroy,
yes,
where you're told, oh, she's well and stuff now, and after
yes,
you've seen the religious nuts, right? You're like,
yeah,
I'm thinking she's not that bad, but it's showing you these two sides, and yet
yeah.
both of them are evil because they've both gone too far.
Yeah, and
You know
then
what
you
I
kind of
mean?
like, and then you kind of have to go, well, one's not as evil, but then you're kind of like weighing up your options
Yeah.
then, and it's not,
It's like both of
yeah,
them. It's sort of like that Far Cry 4 situation where no option is a good
yeah.
one.
There's no satisfactory
No.
conclusion to either side.
Yeah.
Because one's
Um.
extremely religious and one's extremely violent.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just again just something that they've both pushed themselves to a point where,
yeah,
because like I think this is the thing that kind of separates itself from the first two games is obviously there's not these philosophical ideals. They're more of ideals based within actual society.
yeah,
Which I think is this kind of like nice turning point. And I think like the reason I like Bioshock Infinite is people play Bioshock Infinite and had never played a Bioshock game before.
you don't need to.
That's what
You
I
don't,
like about it. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it's, because it doesn't really, well, it kind of ties in at the end in the
Mm.
DLCs,
Well,
but
we'll
like, it
get into
didn't,
that. We'll get.
yeah, that's one of my complaints.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like it is its kind of own standalone story
Mm.
in its own way, and I do like the fact that instead of it going straight for like another political thing, it did go the religious
Yeah.
route, which I thought was a very like good idea. Because
Yeah.
that's one thing I would like to see in maybe Bioshock 4. Maybe they tackle something else,
Mm.
something
Mm.
similar. Like it's stuff like that there, like that creative aspect to it, where it's like, oh yeah, you really
Yeah,
can
because it
kind
is
of,
always about these beliefs that people
yeah,
have.
because there's
And
so
they're
many
right
that
to
you
a
could.
point.
Yeah, because you can. There's so many to pick from where you're like has good points, but then you kind of look further into it, and then you're like, maybe it's the person that's leading it is
Yeah.
the cause, or maybe it's the belief or the political aspect of it that it in itself that's the cause, or it's
Mm.
there's
Because like
there's so
without
many
trying to get.
different ways to put a spin on it,
Oh yeah.
which I think Infinite did really well.
Because like without trying to get too political, I think it is just they're a great collection of games that show that no matter what your ideals are,
Yeah,
if you to try and retain them, you become
yeah,
the thing that you're fighting against.
yes,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Oh,
Like,
oh,
but
definitely.
what I like is it's Bioshock isn't very one sided. It is shows like both sides of the coin and showing how all your options are terrible,
Mm-hmm.
regardless.
Yeah.
It's showing. It's basically just extremism to
Yeah, it's the
the
extreme of
highest
all
level.
sides.
Yeah.
So it is. Like it doesn't like it doesn't give you a point in which you can kind of go, well, this not faction, but this group
Mm.
is redeemable
Mm.
because I don't because they all go too far to the point where they can't come back
Mm.
because it's so ingrained in like what they embody. Like,
Mm. What I find kind of interesting is Bioshock Infinite was also the first Bioshock game with a protagonist that speaks. So like an
yes.
actual protagonist, really.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Well,
Well.
your character in Bioshock 1 does talk for one sentence in the intro.
Oh yeah. Aye, that's very. I always forget
I-
about
that's
that.
that's one thing a lot of games did though. It was
Yeah.
very weird.
Yeah.
I know Call of Duty games did a lot where your character would speak in cutscenes but never speak in the actual game.
Yeah. Well, I think. See, Booker's an interesting character.
Oh yeah, and the fact that he does have a voice lends itself so well to. I think it makes it better than the fact that he's actually dealing with real people, instead of
Yeah.
like splicers or just stuff like that. There where you can't, like in Bioshock 1, you can't really talk to splicers
Yeah.
in a way that in Infinite your character can react to the norm, well not normal, but the general people around you,
Yeah.
which I think leads very well into like having an actual voice protagonist.
Well, it's Troy Baker, who voices
Yeah.
Booker. Booker
Yes.
DeWitt. Who's, if you've ever played a video game, he's voiced someone in that video game. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like he's the new Nolan North, as I say, because he's
Yeah.
every character in every game now. And you can tell when he's trying and when he's not.
Yeah. You can tell when he's trying to do a spin on things, or if he's just trying to just not like just using his own voice, like his own.
Yeah, because like
Yeah.
Pagan Min always springs to mind.
Did he voice Pagan Min?
Yeah, but
Oh my
he
god.
kind of tries in that. Well, he kind of had to, but
Yeah.
you can see he's kind of having fun. Obviously, he's in The Last of Us as Joel.
Yeah.
Oh,
Does he play Comstock as well in Infinite, or is it just Booker?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know. And once again, by the way,
Yeah.
spoilers. But then again, I always find that I was saying this on the last episode on the Suicide Squad about reviews.
Yes.
I don't know anyone now who watches a review without actually having experienced that medium already.
Yeah.
Like
I do.
I watch people do it now more to see someone else's opinion on the thing they've experienced.
I will say I do that a lot. Like I
Yeah.
listen, like I love a lot of music. So whenever I would listen to maybe it's not even a new song, but if I listen to a song and I'm like, I really like that, I'll go on YouTube and watch people react to that song or
Yeah,
similar songs to that, because I do like getting other people's opinion and just seeing how other people feel about that.
Yeah.
And I find that so interesting, especially with games. I love watching gameplay walkthroughs of like people playing. Like I love what I've started watching a ton of like people play through Halo for the first time, which is something I'm very passionate about. And just seeing them experience it for the first time, it's like, oh yeah, it's just nice to see other people's reaction for the first time. Like
That's foreshadowing.
yeah,
The Halo.
yeah. But yeah, I don't actually nowadays actually look at reviews without actually play. Most of the time, like I think I did it with the Ascent. I played through the game and then looked at the reviews just to see what other people thought after I had already made my opinion. Just to see if you can get any other like perspectives on what way you looked at the game.
Again, more foreshadowing.
I didn't even cough on.
Anyways, back to Bioshock. I mean,
Yeah. Sorry for that tangent.
level design wise, it's a thing I don't really like. Right? I'm gonna.
Yeah.
This is one thing I don't like. There's a lot of you find a chest, you're gonna have to go through a long way through the map now to get the key. And to go back is going to be such a trek that it's just you're going to be like, I'm not bothered to go back.
It's the case that that Bioshock did so well is Bioshock felt believable.
Yeah.
Rapture felt real.
Yeah.
Going around New Columbia, it doesn't feel real in the way that it's laid out to me. Like whenever you're going from place to place, it just nothing ever clicks. Even the people or the way that they interact, nothing clicks in that aspect, like that grounded aspect that you kind of need to like draw you into that universe. Like it's something like, because the world itself is beautiful, like visually and just the setting. Like they really go like for that like heavenly religious aspect, which looks great, but it's just the actual like intricate design of things where you're like kind of questioning things. At least I was anyway.
Because like if you're thinking we're just shitting on this game, we have a reason as to why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll get into it later. This wasn't meant to be the game.
It's not out of malice anyway.
No,
like.
it's more of this is I like this game just because this is the best they could make with what they had the time they had to
like,
make it.
In terms of like that that I would go like, yeah, it is a good game in that aspect, but it's just not a game. I do say I will say it a ton of times, I do hate the game, but it's just that I don't like it. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a bad game.
Well, I just think it's because it wasn't the game they wanted to make.
Yeah. And I don't think it wasn't the game that I wanted going into a Bioshock 3.
Well, because how many years of trailers did we have? And they were very different to what we like. If you see the first reveal trailer, it's a completely different game.
Is it, the only thing I actually seen from it was the cinematic.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm thinking. Because like even Elizabeth looks different.
Yeah, because she has like more like telekinesis powers in it, doesn't she? 'Cause
Yeah,
she holds you up
yeah,
instead of actually like the rifts.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was that, and then there was stuff like the city is floating with like air
Balloons.
balloons
Yeah.
rather than
Was it massive
it's like some
propellers?
quantum mechanics, or I don't know, some
Oh
weird.
yeah.
Remember how they do it? Yeah, it is physics
Mm.
based. Um,
That's one thing I want to talk about
mm.
later on. It's what is it? Is it the Lutece
The
twins?
Latesse, yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk about them later.
um, I do like a lot of the foreshadowing in this game.
Yeah.
Like, I think it does keep you on your toes story wise in terms of you are always like, oh, what the fuck's going on? Like,
Yeah, but this is where I'm gonna have to disagree with you. Because for me, because that can be an amazing thing in games.
mm,
But for me, it was instead of me being like, oh, what's going on here? Like, is it like intrigued or anything? It was more of me just being confused
yeah,
because it's like vague. Like even the intro to the game with the Lutece twins on the boat.
mm,
Instead of being like, oh, what's going on here? Like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I was just kind of sitting there like, what?
mm.
Like, could you explain? And then the more it goes on, the more stuff happens. And for
Mm.
me, it was instead of being like, oh, this is good. It was more of just like, I
But,
don't like it. There's too much happening here to like
yeah.
wrap yourself around it because they don't explain.
No, but
There's
I
too
think
much
it's
things.
intentional.
Really?
No, well, because, like, you know how, like, you're meant to basically be Booker, you're meant to be, like, so fucking confused until the end.
Yeah.
I think that's the intention, though.
But it doesn't do it in a good way, in my opinion.
I know what you mean.
Because in terms of Booker being like confused, I do buy that aspect of it, and I do like that aspect of it. But as me as the player, it was more of just like a frustrated confused, because it was like you're trying to tell me something, but I
Mm.
don't have any inclination to what you're trying to tell me
Yeah.
until later on, and then everything starts getting thrown at you at once,
Mm.
and then you're like, all right, now it makes sense, but it wasn't like a satisfactory making. Like it makes sense, like you put it together yourself
Mm.
or anything like that there.
Well, one thing gameplay wise, I think we're just gonna hop between gameplay and story. I think it's an easy kind
Yeah.
of way to do it. But gameplay wise, the elixirs.
Yeah.
Obviously, they were gonna have to make.
Oh, you had like
There
it's
was
the
no
best.
way they couldn't have made plasmids in the game.
It's the best way to do it without having it just be plasmids.
Yeah. Well, I like that they did just make it something completely different, and how each
Yeah.
one is completely different.
Because it was like salt, wasn't it? It was
Yeah, it was
like,
salt, yeah. But like I like the
Yeah.
fact that it wasn't a case of you could just constantly carry around like Eve with you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they constantly inject, like there was a limit to this.
Yeah.
I like the fact that each ability is actually genuinely completely different. Like there is a fire one, there's an electric one, but they
Yeah.
are nothing like they are in
And I like
Bioshock
the
1 or 2.
I like the fact that they also have like an alternate mode
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Like the fire ones, you could put down fire mines,
Mm,
essentially like mines, but yeah, mines. But like that aspect was nice because it added to that like extra element of like like a fleshed out sandbox basically
Yeah.
where you're trying to weigh up your options before. It's something that like Bioshock 1 had where it's like you have like all these different weapons. Bioshock 2 as well. You had all these different weapons, but they all had their own little quirks.
yeah.
Like you could have the rocket launcher, but it could also shoot out mines and stuff like that. I think I can. It's just off the top of my head, but then you also had the crossbow, which could sit down tripwire bombs and stuff like that there, and it felt kind of like they added that aspect to the vigors,
Mm.
which just kind of added to that extra element, which I think was a bit of not a bit of a reason, but it was one of the main things that kind of took away from the guns in the game.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't have these alternate kind of modes to
Yeah.
them,
I
where you
think
could.
I think it was interesting the fact that this time you didn't have a million guns. You only had two
Oh
guns.
yeah, yeah.
I think I kind of enjoyed, like, I like the fact that these guns felt very realistic in terms of if you held a machine gun for too long, it would go red and the
Yeah.
blast radius would be all over the place. Like, I like
Yeah.
that sense of realism in it.
Well,
Um,
it was done good enough because in like Bioshock 1, like because ammo's so scarce in the first
Yeah.
two Bioshock games, you're constantly having to cycle through all your weapons to try and make do in like stressful combat situations. But with Infinite, since it's only 2 weapons, you do get a lot of ammo for them weapons, and if you do end up running out, you have Elizabeth there to
she'll
throw
just
you
throw
ammo.
it at you, yeah.
Yeah, so like you're not having to cycle through like 5 different weapons just to get through one like a really hard encounter. You can rely on the two
Yeah.
without having like it kind of negates the need of having so many weapons because you do have plentiful ammo and each weapon kind of can do its own thing.
Well, I liked stuff I do actually, I did enjoy the gameplay. Like, I liked how they work with, like, the pistol's very accurate.
Mm.
Like, I did like the feel of the guns. I like how they were very different, if you know what I mean.
Really? 'Cause the way I looked
You
at it, I don't really remember any of them being like standout unique.
Really?
But I don't know if that's because they didn't have their alt like a different mode to them where
Yeah,
like it added
that's
that
probably,
aspect.
yeah, yeah.
Like, cause I went through the game with like you could probably just go through the game with a carbine,
Mm.
and you wouldn't have to switch to anything else
Mm.
because it can do anything. Same with the pistol. Same with like anything.
Mm.
Like I didn't find that you needed certain guns for certain situations. Like in Bioshock 1 you would have, or Bioshock 1 and 2 you would like put down mines with the crossbow and the rocket launcher and stuff
Yeah.
like that there. Switch to anti armor rounds just to be able to take on a big daddy. Like you have to plan, but with Infinite you can just kind of run and gun the whole game without switching a weapon. And it works. Which I wasn't that big of a fan
Well,
of.
I thought it was weird that there were skins for guns.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, well, you could, like, I think it was more. There was, like, you can get a very, like, exclusive looking. Because it was part of DLC in the original game, so you just had it.
Right. Yeah, was it like pre-order stuff?
Yeah, but you just got it in this one because it was like, fuck it,
Yeah.
just put it in. And I thought that
Didn't
was a
even
bit weird.
notice. Yeah.
But, like, I wonder
if that was to do with like the multiplayer aspect as well.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, the thing is, there's a lot of these things where I'm just like, this would have worked really well as an open world game that it was intended to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can see it was meant to be this open world. Especially with the level design, 'cause that's why I feel the level design doesn't work, because there is a lot of this running around.
It feels like incomplete, so it does.
Yeah. And we know it is, it's just the fact that it's sad that it is.
Yeah, because like running around the levels, you don't have that aspect of the original games where you can. There's no
a small map, really.
Yeah, but there's no environmental storytelling going on.
Yeah.
So you're not paying attention to what's around you at all. You kind of just, unless you see like a group of people, you might walk up and just listen to what they're saying. But there's nothing like going on in the background to you where you're like, oh, I need to look at this. Or like, there's nothing to like interact with, like audio. Is there audio logs in the game?
Yeah, they're Vox logs. Or I like the fact that they're all crackly and stuff.
I actually did like that.
Yeah.
But like they don't really pertain to like the story like going on in that area. I don't think, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong.
It's more of just like small character. Well,
yeah,
it sort of is. I do think it's done better than Bioshock 2. Because, you know, my opinion, Bioshock 2 is where there's 50 million fucking ones. Like, it's like, oh Jesus.
But like with Bioshock 1 especially, like you would find an audio like you know whenever you find the audio log from Andrew Ryan's girlfriend before the bomb. I think is it before the bomb? Like whenever you find that in the area that it happened, you listen to it and you're like, oh god, that happened here. And then you can kind of look around and they kind of look at the aspects of like what that could have done. Like it makes you appreciate everything that you're in more, which I think Infinite just didn't have. It didn't have that reason to look around. Yeah, if you get what I mean, because I didn't think the game itself, like the background or like any interactions, were that interesting.
Because, like, one thing that was very interesting was the shield aspect that they had in.
Oh, yeah, where you could grab people?
Yeah.
Like, that was a nice touch.
I thought that was very interesting, where you did have the shield system in the game.
Oh, it was nice.
I just thought it was nice gameplay-wise to have something different. Obviously,
it was a nice mechanic, like.
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously, like, as all Bioshock games, they all have, like, the iconic melee weapon. And there's nothing more iconic about this one. Well, I think this one is underrated because it had a purpose that was cut from the game.
Yeah.
Because something you see in like some old gameplay trailers, was you would be able to just jump on a railing constantly and go around, wherever you wanted, whatever speed. Or, it was a very ambitious game, and it was this open world kind of a game
Yeah.
that's just not in the game.
Another reason why I don't think it was as iconic is the fact that, like, Bioshock 1 and 2, their melee weapons are just so, like, generic, like, a wrench.
Yeah, or
a giant drill.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with this here game, it's more of like a weird spinny thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like a chainsaw, but attached to your arm.
It's kind of like a chainsaw drill kind of
Yeah.
thing. But it was weird. And I think that was one of the reasons why it wasn't, like, as popular as the original. Like, I don't think it'll ever be as popular as the wrench. But, like, it's because I don't think people, like, really knew what it was.
Because I know I gave Bioshock 2 a lot of shit for cutscenes. The cutscenes in this game weren't meant to be cutscenes.
Yeah.
Originally. And the only reason they were is I see due to mainly A, technical limitations, and B, the fact that, again, it was meant to be a very different game.
Yeah, I'd say, like, because if you have to do, you could, like, if you, especially with the fact that a lot of the game the map feels a bit unfinished. Like, doing cutscenes to kind of circumvent certain areas.
There's emptiness to the world.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Like, there's, like, I mean, it's one thing that Bioshock, like, does because there's clutter everywhere, but that's only because it's so degraded. I would say, I would think it would be quite hard to do that in such a pristine place.
Yeah.
But they could have done it something with the actual people, since there is people this time.
Because there was that where there was going to be, like, Booker was originally going to have interactions with people on the streets.
Yeah. Like, you can see that at the start of the game.
Yeah.
But then it just immediately falls off.
But there was going to be these choices where it wasn't like press X or A. It was just, you act on this if you want to. There was going to be a lot of that. And there was going to be a lot of, because you did that, the world changed.
I remember seeing some stuff about that. Yeah, like you could find, wasn't it something that you could find, like is it the Vox Populi?
Yeah.
Like, you could find them, like, beating up, like, one of the rich people.
Yeah.
And you could, like, intervene and stuff like that there.
Because it was, like, very weird, because, like, originally, I kind of find it weird, but, like, originally, like, Daisy Fitzroy was Native American. Which I think...
you get that aspect.
Yeah, like, I understand how
like,
they're going to do this whole, like, colonialism versus,
Because they do that in the game. They scalp a lot of the people, don't they?
Well, I think that was mainly just left over from...
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because there is that whole aspect of it with Booker's backstory as well.
Yeah.
It would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah. Because then I see why they did it, to change it to just doing it about, just black people in general. Because, there is a reference to, like, the Jim Crow laws and a lot of things that were happening in the 20s at that time in America, for example.
Yeah.
And you see that in the game.
Oh, yeah. Like the separated bathrooms and stuff like that there.
Yeah. Which I think it's a very interesting thing to talk about. I just wish it was in the game that we should have got.
Yeah.
Which was literally the world was surrounded by these ideas. These ideas.
Right, this is like the biggest complaint that I have with Infinite is the fact that it tries to do so much with its ideas. Like, I think there's too many ideas going on. Like, if it was just the religion aspect and the racial aspect, I think it would have been so much better. Like, just narrowing it down to them two, because on their own in that game, they both fit so well together, and the game actually does a decent job of it.
Yeah. Like, you do see that juxtaposition between the two.
Yeah, it does a good enough job, but it's not enough, I don't think. Like, because there's so much other stuff going on, you can't focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Especially whenever you start bringing, like, the interdimensional travel into it.
Yeah.
That's my least favorite. I know it's, like, the biggest part of the game, but it's my least favorite.
The last half an hour of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, whenever you're jumping between all the different realities. And stuff like that, even like, because I don't like that aspect of it being like, it just takes away that grounded aspect that Bioshock 1 and, even though Bioshock 1 and 2 have that really like sci-fi aspect to them, you can believe it in a way, but like that, it just kind of just, that there was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, where it was like, right, I'm not like, I can't get into this because it's just not. I
Well,
don't know.
you see, what I liked about Infinite, it was my introduction to the idea of multiverses. It
Yeah.
was the first thing I had played where the concept of multiverses had, you know, that I
Mm,
first witnessed, what a multiverse was, for example, and these,
yeah.
how one change could change everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
See, I
Um,
love. See, that in itself is a really interesting premise. But I don't
mm,
think it was something that Bioshock franchise needed,
mm,
in my opinion.
mm,
You might disagree with me on that there a lot,
mm.
but like it's just,
Well, I
it's just
think
like,
it sort of fixed the errors of, like, what I like about the idea of the multiverse aspect of it. It's just like it fixes all errors between Bioshock 2 and 1 immediately,
yeah.
because you can immediately be like, well, these might be set in completely separate universes.
To which it actually does feel like.
Yeah.
But oh, I was gonna say. Oh no, my head's blanking. I was gonna say something I can't remember. Uh, I'll just go on. I can't remember.
um, no, I think Infinite's interest in its ideas. Obviously, again, we'll touch on in a minute about
Mm.
Bioshock never was. But I think, like, there is some cool aspects in there, and there's some stuff that I'm like, fair enough, that's kind of a ballsy thing to do that you wouldn't get in a AAA game now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think the Bioshock franchise alone did things AAA franchises haven't done in 10 years.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like just even like the political stuff, the religious aspect, and everything like that
But
today
done
would just
well,
be yeah.
not done
It
in
is.
the way it's kind of done now.
Yeah, it's like it's done tastefully
Mm.
in a way where it's like it's just kind of showing the extremes.
Yeah, because like I'm fine with like Far Cry 5 because it's like Far Cry is just a satire franchise. It
Yeah.
satirizes everything, so it's like, of course, in this everything's going to be very satirical. Like America is such a satirical view on America as a whole. Like in
Yeah.
the fucking monster truck, like, you know what I mean, with fireworks shooting out of it.
Yeah, but like that's something that like I don't think you could get away with today because
Mm.
of the way that everyone treats games now.
Yeah,
It's less of a like just a hobby or just
well,
a
it's
break.
less of an art, and it's something like,
Yeah, it's more of an actual
yeah.
statement now.
Because like I'm more interested, and I think you're the same with me on. We're both more interested in um, indie games now, while
Yeah,
also like, that being said, we are interested in the franchises we already love. Like I like my Far Cry, you like your you like your Halo, you like your Elder Scrolls, all this as
yeah.
well. We all like our own
Oh yeah.
AAA franchises we're just adoring to, but
It could be if you grew up with them, or it could
oh
just be
yeah,
something you resonate with the
yeah.
setting, the theme, the ideals, and it's just stuff like that. There.
But I think indie studios have a lot more to offer now because they can
Oh
be
yeah.
experimental.
Yeah, but they're not restricted by these like higher ups that
Yeah.
just want to pump out money from a profitable franchise where it's like, oh, we have to appeal to everyone.
Mm.
Like indie games now can do whatever they want, not whatever they want, but they can push the boundaries.
Yeah, because they are these low budget games
Yeah,
that are um basically made for a specific audience.
yeah.
In
It,
mind.
they're not like meant to be for the
Mm,
masses.
mm,
Like it's meant to be for the niche people that would pick them up and would appreciate them for what they are.
mm.
Like whether that be the theme, the setting, and all that there stuff. Like j- they just get away with stuff that wouldn't be profitable to a large audience.
Yeah, because like
And
that's
that's why I
something.
do admire them a lot.
Yeah,
It's because they're willing to make those risks just to make. It could be their passion project, or it could just be something that they're very they just want to talk about.
mm.
But they do take those risks to express themselves, and the people in their studios and people that work on these games that
Mm.
you just don't see
'Cause,
as
like,
often as you should.
I'm very excited for like what Ghost Story games do now, because I think they have that opportunity because they are an indie studio now.
What did Ghost Story games do? Oh, is that the
No, that's the new
yeah, yeah,
studio
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
Kelvin set up.
Yeah.
They also sell a ton of Bioshock merch, and one of the
Oh,
things they
really?
sold was the Bioshock Infinite bottles.
Oh,
You know,
really?
the bottles of the
Yeah, the
oh,
elixirs.
elixirs, yeah. But they're like
Yeah.
really fancy. They look they're so beautiful. They are like art pieces.
Oh
Like
my
they were
god.
selling them. I don't know if they're still selling them,
That's
um,
cool.
but no, I'm very excited to see what they'll do, because
Yeah.
I think they will go for this very experimental thing,
Oh, well, yeah,
while
because they.
also having this deep, you know,
Yeah,
philosophical ideals,
it's
seen
because
within
they
it.
can. Because they don't have. Whenever they make their own studio, they're independent. They don't have
Yeah.
like someone like 2K over their heads. It's the same with Visceral with Dead
Yeah.
Space. They since that got disbanded and everything, they made their own studio. Then they had the Callisto Protocol coming out now.
Mm.
So then you don't have those, like, especially EA, you don't have them trying to scrape as much money out of it as they want.
Yeah.
So you don't have that overarching, like, you know, because it just, in my opinion, it just takes away from the game.
Mm.
It takes away the personality.
Mm.
So it does.
Final touches in Infinite before we move on to the DLC.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't like how they one thing, I don't know if you agree or I think you disagree with me on this. I don't like how they tried to tie it into Bioshock 1.
Well, they don't really in the game.
Well,
It's more in the DLC.
no, but they do in the game, don't they, though?
Uh,
With the
there's a
elixirs.
mild. Well, no, that's revealed in.
Oh, is that? Oh,
That's in the DLC.
oh,
But the only
okay.
reference we get to Bioshock is with Songbird
Yeah.
when they travel
That's the other
to
thing.
Rapture.
Yeah, because they tried to they tried to get the pairing thing from Elizabeth the Songbird to use it for the Big Daddies and the Little
No,
Sisters, something.
again, it's the DLC.
That's the DLC. Yep, yep. I know.
No, basically they just because remember Songbird's about to attack the ship, and then Elizabeth just teleports and they're under
Oh
they're
yeah.
in
Oh yeah.
Rapture.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
short while, and then they open the
Oh
door,
yeah.
and
You
then
can
they're into
you
the
see all the lighthouses.
multiverse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hate that.
how every star is a lighthouse, and it basically
I
you know.
hate that.
I don't know. I like it. I dig it.
I didn't.
I
I
just
did
like
not
the
like
kind
that
of
ending.
mindfucky thing that also makes sense.
No, don't get me wrong. I think my main reason that I don't like it is the fact that it's a Bioshock game.
Yeah.
If it wasn't Bioshock and if it was its own IP,
Mm.
I wouldn't. I think I probably would have loved the game.
Mm.
But it's because it's doing something to an existing franchise that I don't think should have had that aspect of it with the interdimensional travel and the infinite timelines and everything.
Mm.
That's the main reason I don't like it.
Mm.
So I do have that kind of bias there.
Yeah.
So I do. But it was nice to see Rapture again in that one mission.
Well, it was just a nice wee Easter egg, because
Yeah.
it's not it's more there for fans of the franchise. Like
Yeah.
it's not like a big reference sort of a thing for casual
Yeah.
viewers. But
It's
not,
more of a,
they wouldn't.
it's more of like a
question it.
subtle message to
Yeah.
to the fans, like,
Yeah.
oh, all this going on, we can basically do anything in this franchise.
Well, I do love the fact that it was literally the first room in Bioshock as well. Like it's where you
Oh
get
yeah, yeah.
the
It's where you
Eve
get
for the
the
first time.
yeah, you get the electric plasma.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice touch.
Yeah.
But yeah, another thing I didn't like. The Lutece twins.
Other tests and yeah, go on.
They just annoyed me the entire game.
I know, but again,
But it
they were
wasn't
meant to be annoying.
No, but it wasn't in them being annoying like their characters were annoying. It was just annoying in the fact that I just didn't know. I don't know if this is just me not picking up on it or anything. It could completely be my fault in this aspect. And if it is, I would gladly change my perspective on this, but it's the fact that you have this entire thing going through the game, but it doesn't kind of tell you. It just shows you.
What do you mean?
In my opinion, whenever I first played this, since it's been a long time, I might be misremembering, but it doesn't. I don't feel like there's many hints to it, on hints to them, the way they're essentially the same person.
Well,
from
they are the
two
same.
different.
Yeah, they're the same person,
Yeah,
just
from
from different universes. Yeah.
Yeah, that were born at the same time. One's man,
Yeah.
one's man, one's woman. But it's that aspect where they're kind of interdimensional, kind of like Elizabeth in a way. But like you wouldn't understand that until like they actually tell you it. You can't piece it. At least I
Well,
couldn't piece
there
it together
is
myself.
references to the fact that you do see them a lot.
Yeah.
But what I mean by that is, when you can look through telescopes,
Mm.
you can see them through telescopes, but if you get out of the telescope, they're not there.
Yeah.
There's some weird sort of,
But
something
like
weird about them,
yeah, but
if you know what I mean.
I do know that they are very weird, but it's the fact that you know that there's something weird about it, but the game doesn't kind of give you the tools to figure out what's weird. The weird thing about them, it just kind of tells you whenever they explain them.
Hmm. Hmm.
Again, I could be wrong about this,
Hmm.
and I could just if I replayed the game, I might discover something that changes my mind. But that's just me going off my current memory
Hmm.
of the game, which is the one thing I just didn't like about it. It kind of leads into the aspect of just the too many things going on,
Yeah.
where there's so many things you need to worry about.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of like, all right, we're doing this. Oh, but what about the Lutece ones? And then, oh, what about the Vox Populi? And then, oh, what about Elizabeth and the interdimensional travel? And especially whenever you start going time traveling.
Yeah.
And then it gets weird because then there's the whole thing with ghosts.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? You're bringing paranormal into
Yeah.
this? Paranormal is like interesting in itself.
Yeah.
Which would be a good thing, but then you're trying to bring it into this. You're like, I'm sorry, what? What? There's just. There's so many aspects that would have been good just on their own, but it's like the Spider-Man 3 of the trilogy. I look at it where they're trying to do too many things and it just takes you away. Like it's like Sandman, Venom, then you have
You see, I think how
all
it
that
gets
stuff.
away with it is because a lot of people have just played that.
Yeah, they
You know
don't
what I mean?
have
I think that's why it gets away with it, if you know what I mean.
because they don't have the connection to the first two games.
No, not as much as them two, obviously.
Yeah, because the way I look at it is the first two games kind of ground the world in a way where you kind of know the world's limitations and stuff, and the third game, and then Infinite kind of just breaks it.
Well, there's a lot of people who probably just played Infinite and went back.
Yeah, but this is the thing as well. It's the fact that it breaks it, and I wouldn't mind if it broke it after, like, since they're like just say because one and two, well, one's like the 40s, 50s, isn't it, or is it later than that? Late 40s, 50s?
Yeah. 50s.
Yeah, 50s. If Infinite was set in the 70s. Just say, and then they had like, we've discovered any interdimensional travel and something. I'd be grand, but it's the fact that it's set in the 20s, and you're like, well, hold on a second.
Yeah, but I think it's just meant to be how. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, because if it was a progression of the universe, I wouldn't mind, but it's because it's muddling.
Well, I think it's because they were both.
Yeah.
Well, I think right. Let's just talk about DLCs.
Yeah.
Because we're just gonna start off with it, but I think it's because they were both working symbiotically, like simultaneously. Like,
yeah,
I did like that. Like, that's why it makes sense, and I'm okay with that. And I think if you're gonna bring interdimensional travel into something, and multiverses, you're gonna have to connect it to Bioshock.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. I don't mind that. It's kind of just the way they did it. Like, I wouldn't mind it.
Like, I like the fact that, Bioshock Infinite leads, or is tied into Bioshock for stuff like why the Big Daddies are attracted to, or not attracted
I wouldn't say attracted.
No, sorry.
That's a very dodgy way of putting it.
But they were, them and the little sisters work in this kind of like symbiotic relationship.
But it didn't need that.
I didn't need it. I just think it works well. Because I think it had to tie into Bioshock.
Oh,
to a degree.
There is definitely
because you couldn't call it Bioshock without,
Like, you know what I would have rather had if you were just walking around. You were walking around New Columbia at the start of the game, and then some woman goes, "Oh, come on, Andrew Ryan, we have to go this way." Instead of like.
What do you mean?
Like, you find out that like Andrew Ryan was originally from New Columbia or something like that there. Like, I would have rather got some, as bad as that is, I would have rather have gotten something like that instead of it trying to work its way directly into it.
It wouldn't have made sense, because he was from the Soviet Union, and then he travelled to America.
Yeah, it wouldn't have made sense, though. It would have been like, fine,
David,
it's a prequel.
Born? No, he must have been born. He was born, yeah. But
he would have
young.
been 40. Yeah, because he would have been at least 10. Because he's in, I'd say 50s.
Yeah, about that. Late 40s.
That's what... 50s. Yeah, and it's about 30 years after Bioshock
one.
Well,
Or
yeah, 30-year
Infinite,
gig.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Fair enough.
But like, it's just the way I think it tries to shoehorn itself in
mm.
that I just wasn't a fan of, especially with Burial at Sea Part 1.
Well, right, we need to talk about this because I have opinions on this.
Yeah.
I really don't like
I'd be
the
glad
first
to hear them.
part
Yeah.
one. Like, I do like a lot of the ideas.
One thing I do like, I will say, is the fact that whenever you're walking around, you actually like, get to see a nice view of Rapture.
Like, you get to see
And it-
the inner workings
yeah.
and what it was like.
That's one thing I did like about Part 1,
Because that was the big push. That's why everyone wanted
Yeah.
to see it. They were like, oh, we get to see Rapture during, before
The
everything
Golden
went to
Age.
shit, essentially.
Yeah. But then you just didn't even get it. You only got like one little walking
Yeah, 'cause
segment.
It really pissed me off because... Yeah, because there's a reference to one of the greatest characters of all time. I mean, you know what I love about this? Just confirm that he is the best character in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Sander Cohen, of course, the
Yeah.
party. I mean, I
Oh my
love
God, it's so good.
that. I love that aspect. I
'Cause-
love that opening.
One thing I do love about that, especially the Sandra Cohen part, is the fact that it just blatantly shows you them being psychotic, even whenever Rapture is in its golden age.
Yeah.
And there was no limits,
Oh,
even
yeah.
though you think of like Rapture being like only going to becoming like that whenever the splicers basically take over and everything. But whenever you see that, whenever everything's normal, you're like, oh my God,
Yeah, 'cause
this
it
could be
wasn't-
happening all the time.
Yeah, like it wasn't this, oh, this is what, happened after its downfall. It's like, no, this is what
This was happening
led
during.
to its
Yeah.
downfall.
Yeah, but then like you only get that in like the first. It's literally just a walking simulator.
I love that first opening thing, and you're like,
Oh,
oh,
no,
this is going to
don't
be
get me
great.
wrong.
And then after
Yeah.
that, you're like, oh, fuck.
and then the entire part 1 after that is just I just want to leave. I want to
Because
go
like
back
that opening's
upstairs.
beautiful with Elizabeth coming in. It's that noir sort
Yeah.
of feel, and I like the idea that a Booker from a different universe was in
Yeah.
Rapture. Like I
See,
like stuff like that.
I do like the idea of that, but it just brings me back to the fact that I don't like the entire, interdimensional, all the different books, especially the aspect of Elizabeth trying to hunt down the infinite amount of Bookers. Or the infinite amount of Comstocks and Bookers. I hated that.
Well, because she wanted to break the cycle.
Yeah, but is there a way to break a cycle if
Well, I
there's infinite?
think what happened is she accidentally broke the cycle.
Oh, yeah, isn't it she accidentally, at the end of Bioshock Infinite, the campaign, she accidentally merges them all, isn't it?
Well, no, what happens is... Yeah, well, she murders one of them, and because she murders one, some of them cease to exist. Some versions of
Yeah.
herself don't... Because I love the idea that Elizabeth is just this completely selfless person. She knows if she kills
Oh,
every
yeah.
version of him, she won't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But her goal is pointless because her destination is to essentially, she's not meant to kill them all. She is meant to exist. She is meant to exist to help Jack
Yeah.
basically go on his path to lead to the end of Bioshock.
Yeah, but I do understand it, and it is interesting, but I don't like the way that they over-glorify Jack.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit weird. It's like,
Because it was like-
there was multiple choice in the...
Yeah, but even that there, it's like, I like them. It's the issue that, like the Elder Scrolls games. We talked
Yeah.
about this before. It's like Morrowind and 5, you're these really overpowered characters and everything, but Oblivion, you're basically no one. And I think that Jack works better where you're kind of like that Oblivion, where you're not this deity.
You're a character,
You're just a character.
but you could have been
even though
anyone.
not even that, it's the fact that it's just you're a character that is mind controlled, basically.
Yeah.
You're not. I hate the aspect of it where it's like, oh, everything has to lead to the lighthouse. It has to lead to Jack. I didn't like that because it
it's
kind
just
of
that
takes.
kind of chosen one aspect.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
but it doesn't make sense to Bioshock. Of all
Because there
things
is
to put
always
it in.
I'm not a big fan of that whole chosen
Yeah,
one.
like-
when there's a prophecy essentially.
Yeah,
and
like-
things.
But like for all things Bioshock, like.
I mean,
Does
Burial at
that?
Sea Part 2 does have one of the most depressing. I mean,
Mm,
to be fair, all three
that is
endings of
depressing.
these have depressing endings.
Oh, it is. But at the same time, if Elizabeth is just like basically God, how the hell did she get killed by a Big Daddy? That's one thing I don't like.
Hmm?
How you know why she's basically like this interdimensional deity?
What do you mean she was killed by Big Daddy?
Yeah,
What
at
do
the
you
end of
mean?
Bioshock at part one,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
she gets killed by a Big Daddy, and I was
yeah.
like, what? You can travel between space and time. You can't just. Jack could do it with a
Yeah.
wrench. What do you
Yeah, but
mean?
to be fair, I'm like, but Jack was kind of this genetically bred person.
Yeah, but still.
No, but you see, this is the thing with Jack. I'm like, because this is why in the second game it makes more. You know how like it makes sense in the second game when you're playing as Big Daddy that you can take on a ton of things.
Oh
At once.
yeah, yeah.
I give away Jack just because he is this
Oh yeah,
genetically
because he is
bred
genetically
person.
altered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like he's
yeah,
kind of like the first child of Adam,
yeah.
essentially.
It does fit into like the philosophical aspect of it.
Yeah, like I understand why he is. Now that I think about it, I understand why he is this kind of chosen one because he is probably the only child that was basically made with the Adam resources, but also he's kind of like this hybrid of human.
Yeah,
He's kind of weirdly peak human. I don't know, you know
yeah.
what I mean?
No, I do see what you mean.
He's sort of that, uh, Da Vinci. Uh,
Oh
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Oh, what's it
The
called?
Perfect Man.
Perfect
I can't
Man. Da
remember.
Vinci's
I
Perfect
can't remember the
Man.
original name of it.
Yeah.
But I do like that aspect of thinking of it in Bioshock one's terms.
Mm.
But with Infinite, it doesn't. I don't believe it leads you to that.
Mm.
All it does is kind of just tell you, oh yeah, everything just has to lead to the light. Everything just has to lead
Yeah.
to Jack.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you a reason.
Mm.
And as well as that, like, I don't think like Rapture isn't like. I don't think like this massive like. Oh, it's gonna be so hard for me to try and think of a way to put this, but like Rapture doesn't feel like it's this big conglomerate of the universe. It just felt like a
Yeah.
city under the sea.
Mm.
Like it just felt like something that you would just like. It could have happened.
Mm.
It just like it did, and it just everything that was behind its making just
Mm.
kind of fell
Mm.
apart.
Mm.
It didn't need to be this big, like
It has a higher purpose than we
yeah,
can see,
yeah. It just all it needed to be, and it worked. It's a city under the water that
Mm.
just fell under its own creation.
Because no matter what, it's never paradise.
Yeah,
In
and it's the
any
same with
ending,
Columbia.
it's never paradise. If anything,
It's the
it's the opposite to paradise. It's the fucking
Yeah, because
dystopia.
that's the whole point of it. But then you're trying to not over glorify it, but you're trying to try to make it be something like you're trying to give it like a reason for that.
Mm.
But the reason already is there.
Mm.
If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Instead of instead of it being of its own natural occurrence, they're trying to like make it be like, oh, it has to happen. Rapture has to fall for Jack to have to go there and all their stuff.
Because, like, I feel that. I hope that. I don't even know how to say this, but.
Take your time.
Bioshock Infinite wasn't the Bioshock Infinite we should have got.
Oh yeah. See, I would
And-
like to see like how. That's why I don't have any malice towards Infinite. Is the fact that it could have been something different, but because I understand that there is. Still was so much behind the scenes that
Well, yeah,
we
'cause,
we
like-
know and we'll never know that
like-
completely change what it could have been.
If you
but
look
those
at early
aspects,
trailers, or
Yeah.
like Chromecat did a great video on where it's literally a collection of Ken Levine interviews and gameplay, and it's a completely different game.
yeah, I think I've seen some of them.
Yeah, like
I
I
haven't seen them
think
the whole way through, but like I saw the things that you could like they actually like change the environment and stuff. Like you could like put trains on the the what do you call them? The
all the
grapple
rails,
areas,
the railing,
rails. Yeah. Like then they could affect things and stuff. Like there was
It
so
was
much in
that
that.
open world, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Like it was that open world thing, and it just annoys me because obviously they want it to be this big game that it could never have been.
Yeah.
But I hope that the next one at least takes some form of inspiration from it.
Oh, hopefully.
If you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
Like.
What was I gonna say? God, I can't even remember. Oh God, what was I gonna say? This is the second time this has happened now. I'll just go on. Sorry.
Well, you see, my whole thing is Bioshock now. There are rumors of a fourth one,
Yes.
and I really do want a fourth one. And I
Oh,
feel like we
yeah.
are going to get this fourth one. Obviously, it's going to be from a completely different team, but I think it's going
Yeah.
to be from a team that has a passion for it. I think what
Yeah.
they can do is basically they have 3 games that they can look at, and they can take the core basic aspects from them and all the ideas from them, and they can make this new definitive experience for
Well,
a
here's the
new
way.
audience.
Here's the way I look at it. Any game developer studio could make a Bioshock 4. You just have to
Oh,
have
yeah.
the right people who know what they're doing and just know the series itself.
Yeah.
As long as it's in good hands, you can get a perfect Bioshock 4. Even if there's no one in the original team there,
Mm.
you can still get a perfect Bioshock 4 that we want.
Yeah.
One thing I want to ask you is, do you think you'll be set in Rapture? Or do you think... Because one thing I'd actually like to see is a different type of city,
That's
like
what
different from Rapture,
Well, I'm
different
hoping
from...
they'll do something completely different.
But what could they do, though?
You
Like,
could have like a base in Antarctica or something.
I was going to say, maybe something like a massive city in a mountain.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Something like that.
Carved into my. Well, you see, I think we're even thinking very limited because there's
Yeah.
probably ideas
Oh,
that
yeah,
they've come
there's
up
ways
with.
Yeah, that we wouldn't even have thought of.
Conceive, yeah.
Yeah. It'd be
Like imagine
interesting,
having it in the Russian mountains,
Oh, yeah.
which are very like no one goes there.
Yeah.
No one bothers. Like, I think there are because I wonder what they're gonna do. It would be very interesting because I wonder if they're gonna go for that whole someone went here and just decided to build their version of paradise, or if it's gonna be something completely different.
Yeah.
Which would be
Could be like
interesting.
someone goes somewhere to establish something and the people around him take it out of control
Mm.
and then establish something that he didn't want.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think would be interesting.
Or what's the most likely option? Fuck it, moon. We'll do the moon. Just so
Oh,
out
yeah.
of the way.
To be fair, as long as it's explained well and as long as it's done well,
Yeah.
I'm happy.
I
It
think
could
there
be
is that pressure.
it could be
of-
set on Mars and I'll be happy as long as it's all done well.
Yeah, it's just because it's such a high. It
Like,
is
I-
just
like-
such a high level of perfection that they they have a big boots
It's
to
a-
fill essentially.
Yeah, they have to
Yeah.
cross it. Like the bar is very high.
Yeah.
Like because like Rapture was phenomenal, and as much as like I didn't like Infinite, I will say New Columbia was probably one of the highlights of it.
Mm.
Just the whole aspect of it and the
'Cause
way it
is
looked.
something you wouldn't get now. Something
Yeah.
like that, if you know what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's just everything around it that I didn't like.
Yeah.
But the actual idea of it, I thought was fantastic.
I think it was just hollow.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
it was. It was that thing. Yeah, it was just hollow essentially. It just
Yeah,
was hollow. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I think that kind of leads to the fact that again there was just too much that they were trying to do where they
Yeah.
didn't know what to put in the background.
Yeah.
Like they didn't know, like because sometimes whenever you're in the Vox Populi area, like
Mm.
whenever you're in the universe where Booker's dead,
Mm.
like I actually think that area has so much going on for it because it
Yeah.
has this whole one theme. And you're not really dabbling into the religion's kind of there, but it's the whole like insurrection aspect of it. And I think that whenever you get that aspect and it's kind of on its own for that little segment because there's nothing else influencing it because you're kind of just stuck there.
Yeah.
I think that area actually worked really well.
Mm.
So it did because you got to see like that was one of the points in the game where I was actually looking around at everything because I was like, oh, this is really interesting. But that was just because it was so like kind of separate.
Mm.
Should we talk about Part 2? Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap it up with this because
Yeah.
I know you definitely don't want to talk about this for too long. It's not that you don't want to. It's more of you could talk about it for so
Yeah.
long.
It's like therapy.
Yeah.
just sitting here like going like just.
The lengths of this podcast so far, slightly over an hour. You could talk
Already?
about that just about Buried Seal in Part 2.
Yeah, because there's so much stuff. Like, there's so much stuff within the base game and the actual Part 1
Yeah.
that we've just completely overlooked. But it's because we can't talk about everything,
'Cause
otherwise we'd be here for an entire like 10 hours.
I think Bioshock Part 2 is at least it's long.
Yeah,
It is
and
good
it's
that it is a
different.
good length.
One thing I do like about it is the fact that it's stealth. It's more stealth
Yeah,
focused,
yeah.
which I thought was really nice and unique.
Because I never saw Elizabeth as a big fighter. You
Yeah,
know, like I like you play
especially
as her.
yeah, but like the whole reason why she gets her ability stripped because she kind of dies. I was like,
Yeah,
but yeah,
but like I
I
think
don't know.
I don't know. I do prefer. I think most people do prefer to Part 1,
Oh
just
yeah,
because there's a lot more to actually do, and
I
at
mean,
least is very story heavy.
like part one's to me part one's like a 2 out of 10,
Mm,
but then part two is maybe like a 5 out of 10
mm,
because they like it's not hard to beat part one,
mm,
so it wasn't
mm.
like if you get what I mean because like
Because I think it is probably one of the weakest DLCs in the franchise. This Part 1.
well I mean nothing is going
Well,
to beat
Minerva's
Minerva's Den.
Den.
Minerva's Den beats out all of the games to
Yeah.
me other than one.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, like there was interesting stuff, but
Mm. So I know you weren't a
yeah,
fan of the whole, how Su Chong discovered.
yeah, like I liked that because I liked the idea of it being a product of having just say Suchong, of him having creative freedom and Rapture was the reason why he was able to come up with these ideas
Mm.
instead of him being able to get them through outside influence.
Mm.
Like I like the idea of the fact that it was just being in Rapture.
But maybe it was
there...
from a different universe. You see, this is
Ah,
why.
don't start
This is why it
this.
works. Though. This is why you can any
But
complaints you have like multiverse.
Yeah, but it's not. But that's the thing, though. It's not what was shown in the games.
No, I
It's
know
not
what
the
you mean.
perspective we got from because, as far as I can tell, that Suchong is the one from the first game,
Yeah.
which means that the first game is part of this universe.
Yeah, well, it makes sense just because the Rational did both.
Well,
Like
no,
I
I know
see
what you mean.
why
Yeah.
they kind of ignored two. I don't blame
No,
them.
I don't mind the fact that they ignore two because I mean, even two in itself can kind of be taken
Set
on
it
its own.
completely. So yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of because you can be like, oh, it's set in a different part of Rapture where like Lam and all her people were kind of
Yeah.
ferried off to, and they were kind of scrubbed.
Yeah.
But like, it's just an aspect of like, you think of all the achievements made in Rapture in Bioshock 1 was because everyone there was able to do what they could because they were in Rapture and it was the influence of Rapture that just they could do whatever they want and they had no limitations and everything. That's why they did what they did and why they made these strides.
Mm.
But then in Infinite, you're kind of like, well, he just kind of got communicated with from
Yeah.
a different timeline, and then he kind of stole the idea, and it's the same with the Vigors as well from the Elixirs,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, is it the Elixirs were stolen from the Vigors?
No,
or
the
Vigors?
elixirs are taken from because Rapture basically came up with the idea of
Yeah,
because
because of
of
the atom
Adam.
and the
Yeah.
yeah.
that's why the
Yeah.
elixirs are completely different and
Yeah.
how they're less
I just
genetic based and they're more
Yeah.
an elixir.
See,
which
that
is
was kind of
tonic in a way.
interesting, where it was more of like it did add to that more like supernatural aspect of it. But again, that's another thing that's added to the game that's not explained, and it kind of just muddles it even more to me.
Hmm.
But
Well, I think it's very period appropriate as well. The elixirs.
oh yeah,
And yeah,
because there's so much stuff like even not even that long ago in our own history, like
yeah, because like
Is that so
Bioshock
much,
makes
like-
sense because it's more of an age of science and discovery.
yeah,
The 50s.
yeah.
But that's why
And
it's
even-
very sci-fi
even-
sort of.
Well, even in Infinite, another aspect is the fact, isn't that why Comstock wanted to build New Columbia? Because everything was becoming so much more about science instead of religion.
Yeah,
So that's why he was like, I'm just going to build my own thing
and yet.
and ignore science. But then he
and
kind
yet
of,
he embraces science to
Yeah.
retain it. They're again more of a
whether to make the machine, to make the city itself fly, or, the whole like interdimensional machines and stuff like that.
I just
Even
love the fact that
Songbird.
Rapture and Columbia are juxtapositions of each
Yeah.
other, but at the same time they both retain the same faults.
Oh yeah. And then I think it's just the theme of Bioshock, where it's like you could have the best ideas in the world.
Failure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going on.
Essentially.
It's not you can't control the people themselves, so it's eventually going to fall,
Hmm.
no matter what. because you have these ideals and they're so far in one way that the other way is going to creep in and then clash.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but just going back to that, it was just something I didn't like was the fact that it kind of took away from the achievements of Rapture.
Yeah.
I think it kind of did it a bit of a disservice,
No,
in my opinion.
I do agree with you on that. Yeah. I know
Yeah.
what you mean. Yeah.
One thing another thing I didn't like about part 2 is the intro to part 2 where you're walking through France.
Oh yeah.
One thing I didn't like about that was
Paris,
because that song stuck in my head for months.
Oh really?
Yeah,
It's a good
that
song
tune.
though.
Oh, I can't remember
It's a good tune.
the name of it. It is like a I
Is
can't
it
remember the
Edith
name of it.
Piaf?
It's a big enough song. I think.
I think it is. I
All I
can't
know,
remember.
yeah, it got stuck in my head for months and I couldn't get it out, and it was so annoying.
Because they played at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever you just, it was actually so tragic to see Elizabeth's limp body against the window and her just like
Little
getting
sister
beaten to death.
comforting her.
Yeah, but it was such a brutal ending. Like she gets tortured and just gets beaten to
Well,
death
that's
by
the
a
whole
wrench.
thing. It is just.
Conspiracy theory, Alex.
Okay.
Do you think that wrench was the same wrench that you get in Bioshock
Oh,
1 to
don't.
tie it together even more?
No, I don't think it is because it's set in a separate area, isn't it? No, because then you'd be like,
No, because I don't know. Because
no,
it was
we'll
the
be
guy
next
that.
to her corpse, surely.
Oh, I thought Atlas took it with him.
No.
Ah,
think
okay
so.
then. Theory debunked.
To be
then.
fair,
I'm
there's a
sorry.
lot of wrenches you can find in Bioshock. To be fair, they are just lying
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing as well I thought was quite weird was the fact that Booker talked to you the whole DLC. I was like, it was just so weird. Like, but I don't know.
Yeah.
TLDR, I wasn't a fan.
I mean, what was it? 20. When did this come out? 2016. The collection.
I can quickly check
It was
here.
2016 or 2017. Pretty sure it's 26. Maybe it was 2017. Anyways, it's been 4 or 5 years since we've got anything.
2016.
2016. 5 years.
Yeah.
Literally. I think it's like 5 years. August now. isn't it?
September 13th.
Oh, so 13th. There you go. Close to the date, anyways. 5 years since we got anything Bioshock related.
Yeah.
It's due. It's really, really due. So it is, you know.
It really is. Especially now where we're seeing so many old IP, not old IPs, but so many resurgence in terms
Yeah,
of IPs
like
where you're
Dead
like,
Space, for example.
yeah, you have the Resident Evil games with them getting remasters.
Quake
and just
got a
this,
HD remake.
yeah, Skyrim's getting re-released again, so I'll have to buy that for the 10th time.
Re-release. The
But
amount
it's
of
the anniversary.
re's, and it may as well just be
It's
called
the-
Resident Evil.
I think they should just call it the super duper extremely special
What,
edition
like
of this, right?
the DLC for Dead Rising 3?
Oh, it is. That what it was
It
called?
was called like Super Duper Extra Extreme Fantastic Dead Rising 3
That's
DLC or something
That's
like that.
amazing.
Yeah. It's really taking the piss. Like.
Yeah.
But no, we are due a new Bioshock game, and I feel like if we don't get an announcement soon, we'll at least get an announcement from Ghost Story Games about their game. Because it's been a long time.
How long have they been set up? Do you know?
Ghost Story Games, a couple of years.
Yeah.
Couple of years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think from 2016 even. It might have been.
Yeah.
If not 2017.
Yeah. Hopefully we like.
We'll get news.
Yeah. Hopefully, like you know, plenty of time.
But we can wrap that up, didn't we?
Yeah. Again,
Nice
there's
little bow,
so
a whole franchise there. We did a whole franchise. It only took
yeah.
6
Like,
weeks.
Like, there's just so much to talk about, but there's so much stuff that you couldn't talk about in a podcast because
Yeah.
we would be here for like another
Well, you
10
see,
episodes.
I think we'll revisit this when hopefully
Oh, yeah,
Bioshock
like,
4 comes out or anything
We could even
to do
we
with
could
it.
even
then.
just touch up on stuff that we missed in
Oh,
these
yeah.
episodes. We could look back at these and just be like, oh, we didn't talk about this. We can kind of just do another episode and just discuss all the games and just their aspect, even if we find out more information,
But,
stuff like that.
We'll be back next week with. Would you like to tease them, Dave?
Oh, it's I think it's like the most modern game we've done.
Well, I
Well-
think we'll actually do 2 games because I want to talk about 12 minutes.
Oh,
if we
really?
do
I need to
both,
play
I
that.
think
Yeah.
we'll call it the indie special.
Oh, yes, I like this.
We'll just do an indie special essentially. Where we're talking about Descent and 12
Lovely
minutes so
game.
far. I imagine if there's any other indie games we played in that time, we'll touch on it again.
Oh, there's tons coming out all the time. You just have to kind of find them.
We'll just
'Cause
go
there
get
is a
Game
lot.
Pass.
Yeah, exactly.
It is the
Amazing.
place to be for indie games.
Yeah. I
but yeah.
mean, yeah.
So this has
That
been
was Bioshock Infinite.
was
Yeah.
Bioshock Infinite, episode 19. Please follow us on Instagram at The State Podcast. Thank you to Bullsprout for hosting. Heaven forbid we'll get a sponsorship. And once again, as always, don't follow us on Twitter, even though we have it. And
Just don't use Twitter in general.
don't use Twitter in general.
Save yourself the sanity.
And have a good day.
Thank you all for listening.
Goodbye.